So the first topic that we'll be dealing with is downloading a DevCpp application and then running it on the machine. So once we install the software, then we will go ahead and write our first program in CPP. Okay, let's go. So here what we are going to do is we are going to first click on DevCpp download, then we go to Force, SourceForge, and then we download this. And and then we are going to download it. Once downloaded, we're going to get the installation stuff. You click on OK, you click on Agree, Install. Once the installation finishes, we'll just run a sample program and check how it is working. Okay. Okay. So here we are going to click on Finish. We have our DevCpp. Next, okay. And then it opened. Okay. Either you can press Control N to open a new file, or you can go here, click on source file. Okay. Once you click on source file, you will be getting a untitled page. So what we are going to do here is we'll write a body of C++. So usually if you have to print something onto the screen as an output, what I'll be doing is I'll write in hash include IO stream and then probably main. Then so here, whatever you write inside the main function, it is going to get executed. IO stream is nothing but an input output stream. So if we go to a library, we will be having a lot of books over there, which whenever it is necessary, we grab the book, update ourselves with the knowledge, and then put it back. So that helps us to give us the various functionalities of that particular library via books. Here, if I want to make sure that I output certain things on the screen, like if you go to a counter, let us say, if you have if you go to any kind of supermarket or something, then you're going to buy a particular product. Once you buy a product, it will be showing you after scanning the barcode, this is the price associated with this particular product, or welcome to, let us say, market, shoppers market, or something like that. So that welcome message, if you want to show it to the output, you need to use something called as output. You'll have to use something called as cout, which will be printing the data from your program back to the output screen. Okay, so something that will appear onto the screen is called as output. Something that is seeking an output from you will be the input functionality. So here we have something called as output. So that is nothing but std. In the namespace std, we have something called as cout. Okay, if I'm going to write welcome, okay, so basically the syntax starts with cout. That is, we are going to put the output to the screen, and it is coming from the library IO stream. We are including that particular library using a hash. This is called as a preprocessor directive. Now it's also called as the header file, which you are including. We are having a main function. Since it is int, I'm not returning anything, so I'm going to give return 0. I just wrote welcome. Now, if I want to execute this, if I go and compile this F9 or compile, it'll ask you to place this file in some folder if you have any folder. So I'll just write it in CPP. I'll write my first program, and then I'm going to hit save. So if you notice, Here the processing happens, which is denoted as 0 errors and 0 warnings. So if you run here, that is F10, you're going to get the output as welcome. Okay. So if I want to print one more statement, let us say see out. Okay. Every statement usually ends with semicolon. Anything that you want to output onto the screen, if it is the string value, means any collection of characters like welcome, hi, how are you, all these things will be enclosed in a double quotes because we call it as a string data type. You will study about it later. You will have to pass the output statement, that is C out, and the separator here is angular bracket, which is going to stream this output to the screen. It is coming from a package called as std, so namespace, sorry, namespace called as std, so we are including that. Every statement should end with a semicolon. Now if you click on the third one, that is compile and run, that is F11, you're going to get both of the stuff in the same line because it is streaming throughout. Now, if I wanted this sentence to come in the next line, I can use angular bracket and then write end L, which means this will be terminating that line and going back to the next line. It will do similar functionality to the new line operator, that is slash n. Now, if I run this, here again, end L is coming from the namespace. Let us say, if you notice here, end L is not declared in this particular scope. So what I'm going to do is std colon colon end L. Now, if you run, you're going to get it in the two different line. Now, for every output statement, if I keep on writing std colon colon, it would be a tedious task for you to repetitively write it. So what we are going to do, I'm going to remove this off. I'm going to remove this off. And I'm going to include the std namespace in the current one. So how do I do that? I'll go ahead with this line before the main function using namespace std semicolon. Now, if I run this, you will be able to get the output easily. You need not write std colon colon because you have already included that namespace. Okay. Now, if I wanted to say, hey, and after that, immediately, how are you should be followed in the next line, I can also give slash n. This is called as new line operator. What it will do? It will break the line here and it will bring this whole stuff into the new line. Okay. Now, if you run this, you are getting welcome. Hey, how are you? Okay. Now, I wanted to print some names, let us say. See out, Shreya, Sammy, Adil, Albert, something like this. And if I run this, you will notice that here there was no space given, there was no NL given. So this will obviously be first line, second line, third line, and this will be continuation of the third line. If I wanted it to be printed in the next line, I'll give slash n. Now, if I hit enter, semicolon, you should not miss. You're going to get everything in the new line wherever slash n is added. If I wanted to give some space in between these, so I'll give here slash t, and slash t. Okay. Now look at the behavior. This is the tab operator. You will notice that there is three spaces, 3 to 4 spaces. This is 1, 2, 3, three spaces in between wherever there is a tab operator. Okay. Now you might be noticing that there is a space here, space here, space. Means tab is operating like a space. What is the use? Let me just do this. Okay. Now let us see. Even now you're getting a three space structure because wherever there is slash t, usually it will be replaced by a tab operator. Okay. So this is one way of putting the values in separate column wise structure, let us say. End L is to put the cursor back to the new line. And see out is obviously an output statement to the screen. Main is like a gatekeeper. This is the starting point of your program. In order to utilize the see out, later on you'll be learning about cin and stuff. You'll be using the IO stream, that is input output stream library, using include keyword, okay, with the hash at the top. You'll be saving this file as my first program. This was the file name .cpp. It automatically gave this extension whenever you are using CPP. Sorry, dev CPP. If you're going to go ahead with any of the other notepad or something like that, then make sure that you add an extension called .cpp for CPP files. Okay. Now I'm going to press Control N so that I create a new file. Here, I'm going to take the input from the user. So I'll be writing hash include iostream using namespace std. We'll have int main, and then um, this part we are writing it. However, I'm going to take a variable. Now, when I say variable, I should have gotten a sheet. So basically, what happens? You have some data to be entered. So whenever you have a data to be entered, you have some values like 11, 44, minus 23. These 34 or minus 76 or something like this, and then 0. All these are integers. These are whole numbers, either negative or a positive value. I can store these kind of data into a data type called as int. So when I say int, I have to follow it up with another parameter there. What you're storing, these values should be inside a variable. Like how in algebra you'll have variables like a plus b is equal to c, where a is equal to 40, b is equal to 50, something like that. To store the values which is given by the user, or if we are defining it, we are going to take int x. What does int x mean? That means when you're storing the data, the values that you store in the x, that is the variable, which can change anytime. Like this x can be used to store 45 or x is equal to 55. Wherever you're going to change the value of x will be replaced. Okay. But in your CPP files or C program or Java or C sharp, if you have to store a certain types of data, you need to have bifurcations. Like it has to be stored in a certain data type. Now, all the whole numbers, all the negative numbers, and positive number and a zero will be under integer data type. If I have something with 45.7 or minus 98.2, something like this, then I'll store in a data type called as float. Okay. If I have a single character to be stored, like A or B or C or Z, whatever, single character, I'll be using a data type called as char. If I have collection of characters, I can use string. Like if I have Shilpa, Vaidya or something like that, then these two words can be used inside a keyword called as string. Okay, for now, I'll go with a simple int. You will have long double and everything, which I'll be discussing a little bit later. Currently, to do a program, I'm going to take a variable called as int x is equal to, okay. Now, this is called as declaration. That means I have declared henceforth in this particular function, x value will hold only the integer value that is given by the user or the programmer. Okay. Now, if I give x is equal to 22, I have initialized the value. But what did I do here? Here I have declared it and here I have initialized it. Okay. Can I declare and initialize in the same line? Yes, you can. If I take int y is equal to 44, then you have declared it as well as initialized it. What do I do if I want to write something for my reference, but it should not be a part of execution? That means tomorrow, if I see this particular program, I should be able to remember that this program is doing, this line is doing so and so job. How do I do it? I have something called as comments. What is comment? These are the lines which will help you to proceed forward with the program, but it will highlight what the line is doing. You can write anything like a note kind of. So here I'm going to say this is declaration. Okay. So in this case, we have declared the integer x. Now, if I have to define it, I can also write it here after the semicolon. Initializing, sorry, define or initialize. Okay, here both things are happening at once. Now, if I want to print these variables, then I have to print cout x, cout y. Now, when I print like this, it is going to print the value inside x and the value inside y. So if I run this, I just write program 2. You can see 22 and 44. What if I wanted to write x equals 22, y equals 44? That I'm going to make sure that I'm combining two things. One is a string, that is in the character we have to give the value whatever we want to print as it is. If I would have given this in a double quotes, let us say, if I give this as double quotes instead of this, see how it is going to render. It'll give you x, not the value. So the value should be without the quotes. But I want to put x equals to the value of x. So how do I do it? Anything that you want to print it as it is, put it in the double quotes and put it here. And then you're going to go ahead with x value. In the same way, I want to give y. Okay, so here y is equal to, this will be the value. Now if you run this, sorry, I have to compile and run. So you'll get x is equal to, it is coming from the double quote part. This x is coming from the variable part, which you have given here. Okay, now if you want to add these two values and store it in a variable called as sum, then what I'll do, I'll take a variable int sum. And here I'm going to give sum equals x plus y. And then you're going to print the sum. So sum is equal to variable value. Okay, now if you're going to run this, 22 plus 44 is 66. You have actually added two values which you have declared and place the value inside sum with the operator plus additional operator. Okay. So now what if I wanted to ask the user to give the value x and y and then do this operation? Then what I'll do, I'll take x comma y only declare. Okay. Ask the user to enter the value of x. Now, how do I ask the user to enter the value of x? I'll say cout, enter the val of x. If I do this, then they should be able to enter some value. For that, we have input operator, that is the input stream, and I'm going to take the variable x. Now, in the same way, I want him to input y as well. So this will be y and cin of y. Okay, the rest of the part remains the same. You're going to print what is the x value, you're going to print what is the y value, you're going to print the sum. Now, if you compile and run this, I'm going to save it as PG3. Yeah, I'm going to give 23, 12. You'll notice that 23 plus 12 is 35. So you made sure that you asked the input from the user where you could take the details from the user and print it off. Okay, with sum. So initially we studied output operator, that is cout, and the input operator, that is cin. The variables is x and y, which can change anytime in your program. If I give x is equal to 45 somewhere here, then x will take the value of 45. Okay. So since it is changing, we call it as variable. Int is a keyword, which is a data type, means it will help your compiler understand, that is your machine, it will help it to understand that you're going to store only the integer values in these variables. Okay, the operations also will happen with respect to integer value because here we have taken sum as an integer. You're going to operate it with the plus symbol, so you're going to do the addition operation. Every line should be ending with a semicolon. Every string should have a double quotes. Slash n stands for new line operator. Okay, that's it for this particular episode.